Hello, everyone here. My name is Irina, and today you will be hearing about my mother-in-law, Sue. She is your typical monster mother-in-law from hell, who was dead set to remove me from her son's life. Did her plan work? No, but she tried hard. Since you guys love mother-in-law stories so much, I thought my story would entertain you a bit. Also, if you ever find yourself in a situation like mine, my story will tell you what to do. So, me and Emmett, my now husband, dated for 4 long years. We met through a mutual friend, and the rest is history. He is a great man and equally handsome. I was surprised to see him single and didn't know what was up. When I started to date him, I knew why he was single. He did give me a small warning. He said, "I want you to meet my mom, but I'm not sure. Don't get me wrong, Irina, I'm sure about you and about us, but not my mom." "Why, Emmett? What are you so worried about?" "She won't react positively to our relationship. I don't want you to get this wrong. It's not like you are the wrong candidate or something. Mom just doesn't like when I bring a woman home." "Seriously? But you are past 20 now? Why would she have a problem with that?" "Well, I grew up with my mom alone since my father left before I was born. My mom just fixated on me a lot. It makes her jealous to see another woman in her life." And that was only a small warning, which didn't even come close to the real deal. God, Sue was a mad woman. I don't even know how to put this politely. She is absolutely insane. When Emmett finally took me to meet Irina, she didn't talk to me or even look at me the entire dinner. It was really embarrassing and awkward for everyone. Emmett tried to include me in the conversation, but Irina just ignored me and changed the topic. She was stonewalling me. When I asked her something directly, she would stay quiet and talk only to her son. That woman was determined to show me my place. Emmett apologized to me 1,000 times after leaving the dinner. He did it over the phone since he had to drive his mom home. Did I mention that he lived with her? Yeah. Sue would pull health scare stunts and cry a river whenever he wanted to move. My poor husband was conditioned to put his mom over everyone else and didn't have any other choice but to stay back. As we moved forward with our relationship, Sue started to become even more hostile. She kept telling Emmett to break up with me and all kinds of shit. She even blackmailed him when I asked him to move in with me. I could write a novel about her antics. I put up with her horrible behavior because I loved Emmett, and he loved me too. But things got worse after I married Emmett. On my wedding day, Sue walked up to me and said, "Don't be so happy, Irina. This marriage will not last a year. I will make sure of it." What? What are you saying, Sue? Who says things like this at a wedding? "I don't care about your stupid wedding. You will never steal my son away from me. I can promise you that. I will make sure this marriage dissolves, and then I will have my son back where he belongs." "Emmett loves me, and I love him too. Don't you want your son happy, Sue?" "My son was perfectly happy with me. He didn't need you in his life. I don't care how you managed to trap him, but you won't be here for long. I won't allow some woman to take over my son. I am and will be the only woman in his life. I hope you remember that." Her words made me cry on my wedding day. As if this wasn't bad enough, she also cut up my wedding veil and threw out my flower bouquet. It was a disaster, but I and Emmett still got married. Emmett tried to get his mom to apologize, but that apology never came. What was worse was the fact that we had to live in Sue's house after the wedding. On my wedding night, I cried to Emmett and said, "I can't do this, Emmett. I love you and really want to marry you. I want this marriage to work, but I can't stay here. I can't have Sue in our lives. I'm so sorry for my mother's mistakes, Irina. You know I am the only one she has. I cannot cut her off. Please understand my situation." "Sue will make my life hell in her house, Emmett. Can't you see that? I will be miserable here. I already am." "I promise I will figure out something about the living arrangements. I won't let you suffer for long. Please, just give me some time." Emmett assured me that he would do something as soon as possible. He did keep that promise. Within 3 months, Emmett took a job opportunity in another country. The pay was exceptionally good and he decided to take it. Sue wasn't happy and threw some major tantrums. But she calmed down when Emmett said that she could come and visit. He flew out soon while I was all set to fly out to him after a month. Thankfully, that month, Sue ignored me a lot. She never talked to me and did her own thing. I thought that maybe I could have a quiet month before I leave for good. I would worry about Sue coming there later. Well, fate had other plans. It was just a few days before my flight was booked to my husband's country. I had a strange feeling when I saw Sue sneak into my room. She thought that I wasn't looking or even in the room. I was actually in my closet with the door half closed, so she couldn't see me, but I could see her. Imagine my surprise when Sue sneaked into my room while I was quietly packing my stuff. I stayed silent and observed what she was doing. When I saw Sue reach my bag of documents and take out my passport, I was immediately on alert. She took my passport and happily left the room. I came out of the closet and tried to make sense of what I was seeing. Well, I went to the living room to find my mother-in-law discussing her evil plan with a friend on the phone. I was shocked to learn what she was about to do to my passport. I quickly went to her room and saw my passport lying in a black pencil case. Something came over me and I took out my passport to replace it with hers. Then I went back into my room and called Emmett. I said, "Your mother has just tried to burn my passport, Emmett. She came into my room and took my passport. She thought I wasn't there, but I was in the closet packing my stuff. I overheard her plan when she was telling a friend on her phone." "Whoa, what are you saying, Irina? Mom tried to ruin your passport? This can't be true." "Oh God, it can't be true." "This is true, Emmett. I wish it wasn't. I have my passport safe with me, but I replaced my passport with hers. I wanted to give you a heads up about it." "My mom can't do this, Irina. I'm sure she'll be back out." "Why don't we find out? I will make sure I have proof. In that case, I will make sure she never stays in our lives." I knew that Emmett would have a hard time believing the truth. It was his mother after all. I didn't blame him, and I knew I could prove everything to him. Sue liked to boast, and she would spill the beans to me to make me sad. It was only a matter of time. I made some plans and quickly packed my stuff. I was waiting for an out to leave this place for good. The next morning, Sue seemed to be in a good mood. She was cheerful and kept giving me smirks. I knew that this was the time to use her cocky behavior against her, so I sat down and said, "Hey, Sue, have you seen my passport anywhere? My flight is in 3 days and I cannot find it anywhere." "Ah, your passport. I think I know where it is." "Oh, really, Sue? Thanks for finding it. I must have misplaced it. Can you give it back to me?" I already knew where my passport was. I was just baiting her. I wanted her to spill the truth about what she was going to do to my passport. And Sue took the bait without even being suspicious. She looked at me and laughed at first. Then, with the meanest voice she could muster, she said, "No, I can't, Irina. I have destroyed your passport so that you cannot live with my son in another country. It had been burned to ashes. Now you will be forced to stay here while I go and have a good time helping my son build his life there. Things will be just like they were before you came into the picture." "Oh, really, Sue? You think it will be that easy to remove me from my husband's life? Have you forgotten the fact that I am not his girlfriend anymore? I am his freaking wife." Divorces happen to a lot of people, Irina. Not all marriages are meant to last a lifetime. It will be easy for me to get rid of you now. I will be around Emmett a lot of times while you sit here unable to do anything. A few months in, I will be able to convince him to leave you. Then there will be nothing holding us back anymore. This time, I won't allow him to bring in worthless people to replace me again. The way Sue had planned this entire thing was disgusting and amusing at the same time. She was so hell-bent on being the only woman in her son's life that she was ready to do anything. All this while she had been quiet because she was planning this whole thing. It's really impressive how fast she can come up with a plan to destroy my marriage and her son's life. She was confident that her son would listen to her and divorce me straight away. I can see why she would think that. I mean, they would be far away from me and I would be able to rarely visit. By the time I can get my passport back, it will be too late. It was a brilliant plan, I'll give her that. But there was a big flaw in it. She didn't even think about it, so I decided to enlighten her. I said, "That's a nice plan you've got there, Sue. I'm very impressed, but it is not going to work. Sure, you did destroy a passport, but..." "Oh yes, you can always get a new one, but it will take months. I will just need a little time to convince my son. After that, no passport will be able to help you." "Why would I need a new passport, Sue? My passport is perfectly capable of doing its job, but I don't think yours can, though. So it looks like now you can't go live with your son." "Excuse me? What are you talking about? I have my passport and plane tickets ready. I will be leaving in a few days." "You can't do that if you don't have your passport with you, Sue. Meanwhile, I have my passport with me just fine." I pulled out my own passport and showed her. Yes, it was authentic and it was mine. I showed it to her but didn't let her touch it. I wasn't going to be that stupid. I let her see and watched as her face showed complete confusion. It was like she couldn't comprehend how my passport got back from the grave and was in my hands. She looked shocked and said, "Wait a damn minute. How is that possible? No, this must be fake. I destroyed your passport with my own hands. I made sure it was burned to ashes. This can't be real." "Unfortunately for you, Irina, my passport is in perfectly good condition. Not a single flame of fire has touched it. But I can't say that for you." "What are you talking about, Irina? My passport is also perfectly all right. Wait, I'll get it and show you." Sue went to her room to retrieve the passport. She left in haste and looked confident, but when she came down a few minutes later, she looked panicked and scared. She said, "What the hell, Irina? Where the hell is my passport? Did you steal it? This is not funny, Irina. Give me my property back. You can't do this to me." "I didn't take your passport, Sue, but I do know what happened to it." Tell me where my passport is. Tell me right now." "You burned it with your own hands, Sue. Have you forgotten the events that happened last night? You took your passport out, put it in the fireplace, and watched it burn. You looked really happy back then." No, that can't be my passport. No, that's not possible. That can't be mine. I checked." "Yes, you checked when you stole my passport and took it to burn it. But in your haste, you forgot to check it one more time before throwing it into the fire. Thankfully, I knew what you were up to and quickly swapped my passport with yours. It was easy. You had it right beside mine." Sue looked like I had shot her in the chest. She clutched her chest and looked like she was about to have a panic attack. And I was in no mood to help her at all. She looked stricken with panic and fear. Sue also had tears in her eyes and didn't know what to do. She said, "You monster! How could you do this to me? Oh my God! How will I get to my son?" "Wow, Sue, it is okay for you to destroy my passport, but I am a monster because I replaced it with yours. That's rich coming from you. Also, I don't think you need to worry about joining your son anymore." What? What are you talking about? This is not over. I will get a new passport and tell my son what you have done. I will do everything in my power to make you pay for this." "A replacement passport won't do you much help, Sue. I don't think your son would want you to come to his place anymore. Emmett would like to say something on this matter." I picked up my phone and turned on the call volume. Sue thought that I would confront her without having a witness. Well, that wasn't going to happen, of course. So I called Emmett and put him on speaker. I also made sure to tell him to mute the call while you turned down the call volume so that Sue doesn't know there is someone on the phone. And boy, it worked wonderfully. Sue went from looking angry to crying when she heard my husband say, "What the hell, Mom? What the hell did you try to do?" "Emmett, I just wanted to come see you. And look, your wife has destroyed my passport intentionally. She wants to separate you from me, Emmett." "Oh no, Mom, that won't work on me anymore. She didn't do anything. You are the one who destroyed the passport, and you are the one who tried to ruin my marriage by separating me from my wife. Although I am surprised to hear that you think you can convince me to leave Irina. I love her, and nothing will make me divorce her." Sue knew that she had been caught. She was in a tight place with no idea how to get out of this situation, so she started to justify her actions, and oh God, her excuses were just hilarious. She just showed how deranged and crazy she is. She started to sob and said, "Emmett, son, you need to understand why I did it. She really does want to separate me from you. Do you remember how happy we were when it was just the two of us? She came and destroyed everything. You moved away to get away from Irina." "No, Mom. I moved away to get away from you. Everything was perfect until you started to mess up my marriage and kick Irina out of my life. I told you multiple times that I am happy with her. But no, your selfishness didn't let you choose your son's happiness over yours. What kind of a mother are you?" "Emmett, don't say that, dear. You're breaking your poor mother's heart. Irina is poisoning you against me." "Irina has been nothing but patient with you. You don't get to blame your evil deeds on my innocent wife. God, I don't know how you could do this to your own son. You know what? I don't even care anymore. Irina is right. I don't want you to come here. If you do, I will throw you out. I want nothing to do with you anymore." Hearing this, Sue started to bawl. She was slowly becoming uncontrollable while she begged Emmett to forgive her. She was desperate to get back into his good graces and started to make stories about how I was abusing her at home. Emmett knew that all those stories were bullshit and said so himself. My dear mother-in-law kept crying and pleading with Emmett not to do this to her. Meanwhile, my friends arrived at the door and were ready to move my packed stuff to their house. There was no way I would stay with Irina any longer. I would be gone that day itself. They started to haul my stuff into their trucks while Irina continued to bawl in front of the phone. Finally, Emmett said, "Irina, do you have your stuff out of the house?" "Yes, I do, Emmett. Don't worry, your mother will not be able to destroy anything of mine anymore." "Good. Now go with your friends and stay there till your flight. Leave Mom be and don't entertain her anymore. I'm hanging up. Call me when you are out of the house." Sue heard our interaction and started to panic again. She looked like the deranged woman she was. She said to Emmett on the phone, "Emmett, son, please don't do this. Don't abandon me here. Please forgive me." "Stop, Mom. Just stop. I don't want to listen to your bullshit anymore. Lose my number, Mom. I don't want to see you or hear from you again. I will be blocking your number on all forms of communication anyway. Irina will do the same, so don't try to harass her." "Emmett, please don't do that. I can't even reach you anymore. I can't clutch your feet and beg. Please don't shut me out. Let's talk this through." "We have done plenty of talking before, Mom. Not anymore. You are an independent woman who can live without your son, and I am an independent man who can live without his mom. We don't need to be in touch anymore. Don't bother." Emmett said that and ended the call. Sue panicked and ran to her own phone to try and call him. We took that opportunity to run for the hills. We all got into the truck and drove far, far away from Sue and her craziness. I called Emmett on my way and he picked up instantly. I said, "I'm out of the house, Emmett. I'm safe. Don't worry." "Thank God. I'm so sorry, Irina. I never should have left you there. Even if Mom had destroyed your passport and come here first, her words wouldn't have swayed me. I wouldn't have divorced you. You know that, right?" "Yes, I know that, Emmett. I trust you. Speaking of Sue, I take it that she is blowing up your phone?" "Yeah, she is. Don't worry, she's blocked. And I am going to inform everyone in the family about her latest deeds. Trust me, everyone will be on our side. Just be careful for the next few days and fly here as soon as possible." I flew down to Emmett a few days later. My flight was exactly 3 days later, and I reached Emmett the next day. I was careful not to go out much and enjoy the peace and quiet at my friend's place. I couldn't take all my stuff to the new country, so I asked my mom to come and collect it. She would rent a U-Haul and take my stuff to her city. My friends were a big help and managed to keep Sue away from me until I left. Since then, Emmett and I were able to settle in just fine and were thrilled to start our new life. It feels good to be close to my husband after being away for so long. I will now tell you what happened to my dear mother-in-law. After I left her alone, she kept trying to contact me and Emmett, and we kept blocking every new number she bought. The extended family was already informed about her obnoxious behavior, and they all cut her off. I don't blame them. Who would want to keep in touch with a psycho like that? Anyway, Sue filed for a replacement passport and came to our country. But she doesn't know our address, so it was a waste of time. She did show up at Emmett's workplace and was escorted out by security. She threw such a big tantrum and the cops were called and she was promptly sent back to her country. She won't ever get a visa here again, so we will be free from Sue for a very long time. Hello guys, my name is Eve. I have a story for you today. Thankfully, I don't have a crazy mother-in-law in my life, but I do have a crazy stepsister, Allison. I don't want to go into much detail about the stepsister. She is a nasty woman who competed against me every chance she got. She faked illness on my birthdays and broke my things. She even stole all of my boyfriends and crushes when we got older. I knew that she was jealous of me because of whatever reason. She would never accept that though. Allison always maintained that she was the better woman, so it was natural for her to attract men. For some odd reason, my dad and stepmother always went along with it. They didn't want their perfect family to be disturbed by warring sisters. Well, that just made things worse. Allison never stopped harassing me. Trust me, guys, I did my best to control my temper around her. But shit hit the fan when I was 24 and this crazy freaking woman stole my then fiancé, Chris, by sleeping with him. It was our 5th anniversary when Allison casually walked into my house and said, "Wow, that's a nice anniversary celebration you have going, Eve. I wonder if the effort was worth it, though. You know, Chris will be eventually leaving you for me anyway." "What the hell are you talking about? Chris loves me, unlike all the men you slept with before. We are engaged, and he would never do that to me." God, you are so naive, Eve. I always told you that men would pick me over you. Chris just couldn't resist me either. We slept together the day you went out for your friend's bachelor's party. Don't make up lies, Allison. Chris would never do that. You are being delusional. Am I, Eve? Well then, why don't you ask your dear fiancé about it, Chris? I know you remember the amazing night we spent in your bedroom. Want to tell your fiancé about it? I looked at Chris, expecting him to blow up at Allison for the false accusations. He had always defended me when Allison insulted me in the past. He was my rock and the love of my life. I was sure that he would never hurt me that way. Imagine my shock and sadness when Chris was looking at the floor, refusing to look me in the eye. I was shocked and desperate for answers. I said, "Chris, why are you quiet? Tell Allison what a lying witch she is. Tell her." "What will he say, Eve? He knows the truth, and so do I. Now you know the truth as well." Chris and I slept together and loved it. It's only a matter of time before Chris breaks his engagement to you. Chris, is she speaking the truth? Tell me now. Don't leave me in the dark. Eve, I'm so sorry. It was a mistake. I never meant to hurt you. Please. I didn't listen to the rest of his speech. I was numb with pain and betrayal when Chris accepted having an affair with my sister. I didn't care about the details or how long it went on. I didn't want to know. One night was enough. I immediately dumped Chris and threw my engagement ring at him. That night was one of the worst nights of my life. Allison laughed at me when she revealed the affair and called me a loser. Maybe I was a loser for falling in love with a cheater. I hated myself and thought that I would never find happiness again. Chris did try to talk to me and begged for forgiveness. Allison texted me giving me all the details of the affair that I never wanted to hear. She told me, "Chris would have left you eventually, Eve. He's just way out of your league. You should have seen this coming. A wealthy man like Chris needs a beautiful woman like me, not a sack of potatoes like you." What have I ever done to you, Allison? Why do you hate me so much? I don't like you, Eve. In fact, I do hate you. You think just because my mom treats you well, you are the queen of this world? Well, you are nothing but a freaking loser. You will always lose to me, Eve, and no one would protect you because no one actually cares about you. I finally grew a spine and cut her off for good. My dad and stepmother tried to intervene, but I told them off too. After ending things with Chris, I took a job transfer and moved to a different state. There, I started my life afresh and vowed to turn my life around. Also, I secretly prayed for a chance to get revenge on Allison for what she did. It was going to be a rare chance, but I kept hope. I stopped talking to a lot of people who still kept in touch with Allison and asked me to forgive her. I did have a good life in the new city, but kept everything secret from most of my family. I didn't even tell them when I met someone and got engaged to him after 3 years. My new life didn't have Allison's drama in it. I was finally happy and content with how life was going. Imagine my surprise when I got a mysterious phone call from an unknown number. I picked up the call, and it was Allison calling for me. I let her speak because I wanted to know what the hell she wanted from me. She said in a sickeningly sweet voice, "Hey Eve, how are you doing?" "We are not that close to making small talk, Allison. Tell me what you want." "You got me at that, Eve. I guess I can cast aside the small talk now. I have no interest in knowing how you are anyway, so I am getting married to Chris next month and you are invited." "Why would I want to come, Allison? And why would you even want me there if you don't care about me at all?" "Oh, you poor thing, Eve. I just wanted you there because of our close relationship with Chris. I met him through you, remember? Naturally, I want you there. I know that this news might be bad for you, but it is what it is. Don't be jealous, Eve. I understand that you will be upset. It is hard knowing that the man you loved is now marrying your stepsister." So, Allison was indeed inviting me to gloat and throw it in my face that she was marrying my ex-fiancé. I was surprised that Chris stayed with Allison. I guess I could see why. Allison couldn't let go of his wealth, and Chris stayed because cheaters make a great pair. Allison thought that gloating about her wedding to my ex-fiancé would make me sad and jealous. Well, I wasn't either of them. I have my reasons why, so I smirked at her and said, "Oh, that's okay, Allison. I don't mind you marrying my ex at all. In fact, I'm very happy that you two found each other. I must say that two cheaters would make a great pair. Thanks for taking him off my hands, Allison. I don't need him anyway. I'm marrying a better man." "Oh, please, Eve. You haven't dated since you broke up with Chris. I know, just like everyone else in your life, you are a loser. Eve, you will die alone while I ride off into the sunset with your precious ex-fiancé." "Well, like I said, I'm happy for you, Allison. Believe it or not, I am now engaged to a much better man who I will marry in the next few months. You didn't know because I was smart enough to not make my love life public again." "Is that so, Eve? Then why don't you bring him to my wedding and rehearsal dinner? I'm sure the family would love to meet this new fiancé of yours if he does exist. I'll give you a gracious +1 so that you can introduce him to us." "Are you sure you want that, Allison? I mean, it's your rehearsal dinner and wedding, so you may not want my fiancé there. If I were you, I would think things through." "You are the one asking to be humiliated, Eve. You think I would believe your animated story about being engaged? Well, no, so don't try to get out of this. Bring him. I too want to see what better man you are talking about." "If you say so, then so be it. You need to tell everyone that you invited my new fiancé to your wedding events." I didn't want Allison to turn on me and say that I purposefully brought my fiancé to ruin her day. I knew that when she would see my fiancé, she would throw a fit. I didn't want to take the blame later. It was Allison who insisted that I bring my fiancé Seth to her rehearsal dinner. I am not even considering her wedding because I am sure we won't be attending that. Anyway, Allison was so confident about my love life being a lie that she did as I said. She told everyone that she was a good sister and invited my new fiancé so that everyone could meet him. Everyone seemed happy and excited to finally meet the man who stole my heart. On the day of the rehearsal dinner, Allison was prepared to make fun of me and my fiancé. She was convinced that there was no way I could find a better man than Chris. I get the sentiment. Chris is kind of rich and handsome. Allison was marrying him because she thought neither me nor her would ever get a better man than him. To each to one's own, I guess. Anyway, my fiancé already knew everything and was excited to meet my family, excluding Allison and Chris. He didn't care about them or their opinions. In fact, he downright hated Allison for different reasons. The reasons will be revealed later. We went to the rehearsal and arrived before the bride and groom. Both of them were fashionably late again. Meanwhile, Seth got the chance to meet and know all my family before the drama began. The real fun began when Allison and Chris arrived hand in hand at the venue. They were dressed to the nines, while Chris didn't exactly look particularly happy. He lit up when he saw me, but I kept a neutral face. Meanwhile, Allison, who looked happy and even smirked at me, actually turned as white as a ghost when she saw Seth. She immediately broke free from Chris and ran over to Seth. She said, "Seth, what are you doing here?" "You invited me to your rehearsal dinner, Allison." "Well, you didn't actually invite me knowingly, but you did." "What? I don't understand. How did I unknowingly invite you?" "I believe you told Eve to bring her fiancé to your rehearsal dinner and wedding, so..." "So what? What are you trying to say?" Allison knew Seth very well. That's why she didn't want to accept what Seth was going to say. She looked horrified and tried to stop Seth from actually spitting out her worst nightmare. That's when I decided to step in and say, "Seth is my new fiancé, Allison. I get it that you two know each other. Small world, right? Since you told me to invite my fiancé, I told him to come along." No. Seth can't be your fiancé. You are lying. You two are playing a game to intentionally hurt me. You were trying to ruin my day, Eve. Stop being so cruel." "I don't care about you enough to ruin your day, Allison. Like I said before, I found a better man, so there is nothing for me to be bitter about. But I don't know why you think you are acting this way." Allison started to suddenly cry and asked Seth if what I was saying was true. She was behaving insane, and everyone, including Chris, was confused by her reaction. But I wasn't surprised at all. I knew this was going to happen. Allison knew Seth very well. They went to the same college and he was her senior. Allison was madly in love with him and tried to get with him several times. She even went as far as to jinx 2 of his relationships to get him to date her. Seth hated her since then and didn't want anything to do with her. He only agreed to come that day because he and I both needed revenge against Allison. We were successful in getting what we wanted. Seth actually looked at Allison in a very indifferent way and said, "Yes, it's all true. I am engaged to my beautiful fiancée, Eve. She is the love of my life, and we will be getting married soon. You are not invited, though." No, you can't marry my sister, Seth. You knew I was in love with you. How can you marry my sister? You can't do this. Eve, how dare you do this to me? You knew everything and still betrayed me. You want to hurt me. Unlike you, my love life doesn't revolve around my stepsister, Allison. I had no idea who Seth was until a few months into dating, and just because you loved him doesn't mean I will have to drop him. Seth loves me and I love him too. How dare you talk about loving Seth in front of me? How can you hurt me like that? You never should have dated Seth. I always knew you were a cheap witch who wanted to ruin my happiness. You intentionally got with Seth because I am marrying your ex-fiancé. That's ironic. Since you decided to literally make my ex-fiancé cheat on me, now you're getting married to him. Meanwhile, you and Seth never dated and he hates you with a passion. I didn't even know your connection to him before we dated. I don't think you should be throwing out allegations. In fact, You are the one who ruined my happiness." Allison was now crying and screaming accusations at me. It was bizarre because she was throwing a tantrum over a man at her own rehearsal dinner. The people around were really surprised at what they were witnessing. Chris looked very uncomfortable and wasn't saying much. Since his friends and family were around, he was ashamed to let them witness such an embarrassing situation. Allison never cared about those things. It was clear to everyone that she was still in love with Seth. She clutched Seth's arm and was crying to him. Seth looked super annoyed and tried to get her off him. He said, "You are acting very inappropriately towards your stepsister's fiancé, Allison. Your soon-to-be husband is standing right here. You already stole Eve's fiancé before, but it won't work on me. You are only embarrassing yourself." "Seth, you have to believe me. Eve is with you just to get back at me. She doesn't love you at all. She's doing this to hurt me and ruin my life. She doesn't love you like me." "You have some nerve saying that you love your stepsister's fiancé more than her. That too, at your own wedding. This is very embarrassing, Allison. I don't have enough time in this world to find out your love interests and get them to date me." "Don't freaking lie to me, Eve. You did this on purpose. And you brought Seth to ruin my wedding. You are jealous of me and want to hurt me in the worst way possible." Now, Allison, I didn't even care about you until you reached out to gloat about your wedding to my ex-fiancé who you stole from me. I am happy to know that you are marrying Chris. And you are the one who told me to bring my fiancé. The entire family is witness to that. Everyone in the family immediately agreed to my statement and even berated Allison for her reaction. Allison was so mad with fury and sadness that she didn't want to listen to reason. She was still crying and holding on to Seth for dear life. When Seth couldn't get her off him, Allison's bridesmaids dragged her away. They looked panicked because they could tell that Allison was risking her own marriage. Chris's family was already looking furious, while the bridesmaids were trying hard to make Allison realize what she was doing. But Allison kept screaming at me for ruining her life and spoiling her wedding. But that's when Chris spoke up. He said, "There is no need to blame Eve for destroying your life or trying to ruin your wedding. This wedding is off now. From your reaction, it is clear that you are not over Seth. I'm not surprised. I always knew that you were marrying me to make Eve jealous." "Chris, no, you can't do this to me. Our wedding is tomorrow. You can't cancel the wedding now. I'm telling you, this is all Eve's plan to ruin my day. Don't give in to her plan, Chris." "You are a delusional woman, Allison. Stop blaming Eve for everything bad in your life when it's the total opposite. I regret the day I ever slept with you. That decision ruined my life too. I would have been marrying Eve if you hadn't tricked me into sleeping with you. And I hate myself for complying. I never wanted this marriage in the first place, nor the relationship. You are the one who kept guilting me to stay with you. Today, you have given me enough, and more reason to leave you. We're done, Allison." "What are you saying, Chris? You can't leave me now. No, you can't do that to me. We will be getting married tomorrow. You won't leave me because of my stepsister." "No, I'm leaving you because of your behavior. I won't let you dangle our nasty affair in my face to get your way. I think I have suffered enough these years and lost the love of my life, Eve. That's enough penance for me." I was kind of surprised to hear that from Chris. It was true that he used to occasionally reach out to apologize to me and try to rekindle our hopeless relationship, but I never paid him attention and eventually blocked him. So hearing him call me the love of his life was surprising but also satisfying. It destroyed Allison and made her realize that no one truly loved her. All the men in my life who she stole, abandoned, and left her eventually. Now I was engaged to the love of her life, and her own fiancé was calling off the wedding. She realized that and started to totally lose her mind. Allison was a crying mess and didn't know what to say. She kept alternating between begging Chris not to leave her and begging Seth not to marry me. It was pathetic and everyone was giving her nasty looks. Also, her own friends and Chris's family didn't know about the cheating. When they found out, they had nothing but horrible things to say about Allison. Even Chris had to face some backlash for what happened in the past. He took it all without protest and apologized to me again. Eventually, me and Seth left, along with the rest of the guests. Allison did try to hold Seth, Chris, and me down, but failed when people intervened and got us out. Chris kept his word and refused to marry Allison. The wedding was called off and the relationship ended as well. He did call me and Seth for a meeting for a sense of closure. We both went because we really wanted to put this past us now. Chris apologized to me over and over again and said that he hoped I was happy in my new relationship. When I said yes, the answer made him sad. He congratulated Seth and then left without saying much else. I didn't forgive him, but I did like that he realized his mistakes. The story of Allison took a huge turn. She quickly started to become ostracized when all her friends, colleagues, and family got to know the complete story. People who berated me for not staying in touch with Allison were now supporting me after knowing the truth. In one evening, she lost 90% of the people she knew. She was promptly kicked out of Chris's family's home and left on the streets. Since she recently left work and thought of being a stay-at-home wife, she didn't have a job lined up. Her old job refused to give her job back because of the drama. She had to be unemployed and living out of her car for days. Since Chris's family was influential in the area, their word made many businesses refuse to give her work, so she had to downgrade and work in a place that gave way less money. She is living with roommates now and had to change her lifestyle completely. Seth and I got married just 2 months after this fiasco. We didn't want a big wedding, even though Seth and I are pretty well off. We had a small wedding with all our friends and family present. We didn't invite Allison because she's neither of those. She did try to contact us. She cursed and threatened me while convincing Seth to leave me. We threatened to get a cease and desist order if she continued to harass us. That shut her off real quick. We have since moved on and are enjoying our life just fine. So, I got rid of my horrible stepsister, but not before giving her the biggest lesson of her life. Hello, friends. My name is Mia, and I'm here to tell you the story of how I ruined my mother-in-law's life. Well, Rita, my mother-in-law, ruined her own life, but she may think that I am responsible for it. If she hadn't tried to make her son, Nigel, divorce me, she would have avoided getting divorced herself. So anyway, here is what happened and how I got rid of Rita's toxic presence from my life. Rita absolutely hated me. Why? No reason as such. She hated every woman her son Nigel dated. I could tell that she had an extremely unhealthy relationship with Nigel and always thought that women were out to trap her son and take him away from her. Her husband, my father-in-law, Luke, was not like her. He was a sweet man who still has an excellent relationship with me. He considers me his daughter, which is why I was super pissed when I discovered Rita's big betrayal. Now, let me just tell you what Rita tried to do when Nigel announced our engagement. She tried to say that I was a cheater and was sleeping with my best friend. It was bizarre and she had no proof. It was simply based on her suspicions. Look, Me and my male best friend have been super close since childhood. We have a great bond, but we don't cross boundaries that our spouses have set for us. In fact, we do frequent double dates and even went on trips together. Nigel never had a problem and knew that I was loyal. Well, Rita didn't think so. She said, "A man and a woman cannot be that close, Nigel. There has to be something fishy going on. I can bet all my money that she is cheating on you." "Mom, you are being ridiculous. Mia and her best friend are just that, best friends. There is no cheating going on. She rarely meets with him alone. I trust my fiancé completely." "You are naive, Nigel. Mia is trapping you because you have a good income and can take care of her. One of these days you might find yourself baby trapped by this cheater." "I don't know what you're talking about, Rita. None of that will happen. I love your son, and my best friend is just my best friend. Nothing is going on between us. You are being insulting when you say those things." "I know you are lying, Mia. Don't try that innocent act with me. I know girls like you very well." Of course, Rita knew girls like that. She was one of them. But that wouldn't be discovered until later. Nigel didn't believe her ridiculous lies, and we got married anyway. She tried to tell everyone that he was marrying a cheater. There was some misunderstanding I had with a few family members, but when Nigel told them the truth, they were rightfully pissed at Rita and apologized to me. Nigel also confronted Rita and yelled at her along with his father. Rita wasn't remorseful at all, but she promised to behave from then on. Guys, I really thought that Rita would change and end her stupid antics, but she didn't. What she did the next time was even worse. The beginning of Rita's end started when I got pregnant with our first child. It was a boy and everyone was happy for us. Nigel was super excited to be a father and Luke was excited to be a grandfather. The only one who wasn't excited at all was my mother-in-law, Rita. She started her Mia is cheating craziness and went as far as to say that the child was not Nigel's. We were all pissed and Nigel mostly kept me out of the drama so that I don't stress out too much. Now, here comes the fun part. As soon as my son was born, Rita saw him and said, "This child can't be my son's. He looks nothing like what Nigel looked when he was a baby. This cannot be your son, Nigel." "Mom, what is wrong with you? This is my son. Not all babies look exactly like the baby version of their dads." Or, "Mom, I didn't look like my dad's baby version either. You are being ridiculous." "Nigel, you need to open your eyes. This child is too white to be yours. We are all too tan to have this skin." What the hell are you talking about, Rita? You are being ridiculous. The baby had a lighter skin tone because I am very fair. Plus, baby's skin color can get darker once they start to grow. At least have some logic when you try to accuse me. We had a long and big fight with Rita about this issue. Ultimately, Nigel kicked her out of the hospital and was mad at her. Well, Rita went out and immediately started to tell everyone what she saw and that she was sure the child wasn't Nigel's. Some people were having doubts since we didn't want the baby around everyone before he was a month old. There was a lot of pressure from Rita and people's gossip that was bothering us. Ultimately, I succumbed and agreed to get a DNA test done. Nigel did try to shut me down. He said, "Mia, you don't have to agree to this. I trust you completely. I know that our son is mine. Mom can go kick rocks." Nigel, please, I'm tired of hearing Rita call me names and people assume things about me. This drama has been going on for too long. I have nothing to hide, so I might just as well get over this. "Mia, Nigel, I think I need to tell you guys something." "What's up, Dad?" "I don't know how to say this, but Nigel, you might not be my biological son." Luke was at our house when we were having this conversation. He suddenly turned serious when he said this. We noticed that he had been acting a little off for some time, so we were immediately alert, but we never expected him to say this. We were shocked, but Nigel was more than me. He said, "Dad, what are you talking about?" "Look, I went to a doctor recently and some things he said made me doubt that I am your biological father." "Are you serious right now?" "Oh my God, are you sure there is a possibility?" "There is a big possibility, Nigel, and I think it's time we found out for sure. Mia, keep this a secret from Rita. Let's get me and Nigel tested as well. I want to confront her when the results are out. She is planning to host a family dinner when the DNA reports of Nigel and my grandson arrive." Honestly, I didn't know what to say. I agreed since we all thought this was a good plan. I took the responsibility since Nigel and Luke were way too stressed to manage this. The DNA test was done, and as promised, Rita threw a family dinner to announce the results in front of everyone. She really wanted to humiliate me, but in her excitement, she picked up the wrong envelope before announcing the results. Nigel, me, and Luke noticed, and it didn't say anything. Imagine our faces when Rita screamed with joy and said, "I was right! They are not a match. My son is not the father of Mia's son. Mia is a cheater." Rita was jumping up and down with joy when the results showed that the people who tested were not a match. This essentially said that there was no freaking connection between the two people who got tested. Rita was extremely delighted by the results because she thought that my husband wasn't my son's father. She saw it as an opportunity to get me kicked out of Nigel's life. That's why she was dancing with joy and screaming to everyone that my husband wasn't the father of my child. But I didn't bat an eye at her reaction. Meanwhile, Luke and Nigel went pale and were shaking with anger. Rita thought that they were mad at me and said, "See, I told you guys that Mia is a freaking cheater. Do you see this? Nigel is not the father of her child. That is not my grandson. That is some stranger's spawn that Mia is trying to pass off as yours, Nigel." Oh, my poor boy, Nigel. I tried to warn you, but none of you listened to me. Rita, before declaring the results of the DNA test to the public here, you should have checked them in private once. Now, why would I do that, Mia? Everyone here needs to know what a cheater you are. Do you think I would be gracious enough to try and save face? You don't deserve that. You deserve to be kicked out of our lives for being such a cheater. When Rita said this, it was Nigel who cracked first. I could tell that he was exceptionally mad and ready to ruin everything. I understood his reaction because I knew he was feeling betrayed, so I didn't stop his outburst. He said, "Stop it, Mom. Just stop. Mia isn't going anywhere. She is my freaking wife who I love and trust with my own life. She is the freaking mother of my child." Nigel, what the hell are you saying? These results clearly show that the child is not yours. Mia has cheated on you and is trying to baby trap you. Here, you can check for yourself. No, I don't need to check anything. You need to recheck the results more carefully and then talk. You shouldn't have made us take a DNA test in the first place. Now, look at what you have done. Nigel, I understand that you are sad and in shock. This probably doesn't feel real to you, but it's the truth, son. Your wife is a cheater. She is making you raise another man's child. Now, this was the moment when Luke thundered and decided to speak. He was too frozen in shock and too angry to form his words. After the initial shock wore out, he was ready to raise a storm. He yelled at Rita and said, "So, Mia is making Nigel raise someone else's child? Like you tried to pass off Nigel as my son years ago?" Luke, what are you talking about, dear? Nigel is your son. I am not like this cheap woman, Mia, who opens her legs for everyone. Why are you making such accusations? I have revealed the truth and now everyone is attacking me because of Mia. Why don't you recheck the report carefully, Rita? That will give you a better understanding of what we are talking about. Here, these are the DNA tests done between Nigel and our son. As you all can see, it says that they are father and son. What? Then why does this document say that they are not related? What is going on? If you had read the report carefully, you would have found that the test was done for Nigel and Luke. And the report says that they are not related at all. So Nigel is not Luke's son at all. Rita looked at me with disbelief when I said that. She never expected this to happen to her. Her carefully guarded secret of 25 years was finally loose and she couldn't do anything to stop it from spreading. Rita had made the huge mistake of calling family members to expose my supposed secret, but it backfired badly when her own secret was revealed instead. Luke and Nigel were pissed, and Rita didn't miss that either. She knew that she was in big trouble. She kept reading the report in her hand again and again. She looked at it and all of us were in disbelief. She said, No, this can't be true. This has to be a mistake. Nigel is Luke's child. I am sure of it. We were trying for a child when I got pregnant with Nigel. Nigel is your child, Luke. Oh, really, Rita? So you were saying that the reports are false and you didn't cheat on me at all? Nigel is your son, Luke. You have to believe me. This witch, Mia, has tricked you into getting a paternity test so that she can mess up your report and get revenge against me. This wasn't just Mia's plan, Rita. It was mine as well. Remember how I visited a doctor recently to run a couple of tests? Yeah, the test came back and it showed that I have been infertile my entire life. I never knew because I never went to see a doctor before. There is no way Nigel is my son. No, this can't be happening. This can't be true. This can't be true. I even have a hunch who Nigel's biological father is. Is it Fred? I know it's Fred, your ex before you married me. Rita turned as white as a ghost when she heard that. Her reaction alone gave us the confirmation we needed. Nigel was super quiet and not saying much, just giving Rita some angry looks from time to time. I knew that he was crushed by the betrayal and scared for a different reason. Everyone around us felt the same sense of betrayal that Luke and Nigel felt. Everyone looked at Rita in disbelief and anger. Her own mother looked like she was about to faint. None of the people there knew about her affair or the fact that Nigel was not Luke's son. It was a disaster for Rita. She started to cry when Luke said, "You don't even have to tell me, Rita. Your reaction alone says that it was indeed Fred who you cheated on me with. Doesn't matter, actually. Any love I had for you is already gone. I have been suspecting this for a while. Now that the truth is out, I don't want to spend another moment with you. I want a divorce." Luke, what are you even saying? What happened was a long time ago. I cut off Fred as soon as I was pregnant with Nigel. I swear he doesn't even know about Nigel. You are Nigel's father through and through. You are the father of my son, Luke. That I am, Rita. I raised that man for 25 years. I don't care what the DNA tests say. Nigel is my son. He will always be my son. He might not be my miracle, but he is my blessing. I will be his father till the day I die. Luke's declaration was just what Nigel needed to dispel his fears. My poor husband was worried that he would lose the only father he knew in his life. When Luke assured him of his stance, Nigel burst into tears. I was comforting my poor husband while Luke and the others dealt with Rita. Rita said, "You were right, Luke. You raised my son for 25 years. He is yours. We can just forget that the DNA test exists. Things can go back to normal. We can..." No, just no, Rita. Things will never go back to normal. Every time I look at you, I will be reminded of your betrayal. Nigel might be my son, but you are no wife of mine. A woman who cheats on her own husband cannot be my wife. I am going to divorce you. That's final. No, Luke, you can't do this. You can't do this. We have been married for 30 years. You can't leave me over this. Luke! Rita was in pure shock and refused to understand what she was being told. The people around, including her own family, were throwing insults at Rita and agreeing with Luke's decision. Rita was still crying and desperately asking for forgiveness. She then decided to plead with Nigel and said, "Nigel, look at what Luke is saying. He's going to leave me. Please don't make him leave me. Please make him understand, son." "Don't you dare call me son. I don't want to call you mother anymore. You are the most vile woman I have ever known in my life. You hid my parentage. You dragged my wife through dirt for nothing when you were the one hiding the nasty secret. I can't even look at you now." No, Nigel, I am your mother. That is true, I swear. I gave birth to you. I am sorry, son. I am so sorry for everything. Please don't hate me. I made a mistake. Mia, please, you are a woman. You understand what I am going through right now. Please make them understand. Now, that is something I never expected to happen. Rita was so desperate that she started to beg me for help. She was pathetic and disgusting. She expected me to smile and ignore her sins just because I was a woman. How the hell did she think I would be on her side? I literally wanted her to burn in hell and suffer on earth. Oh, hell no, Rita. You dug your own grave. You were the one convincing Nigel to divorce me, saying that my son isn't hers. Now that it's true for you, how did you expect I will support you? You targeted me and my innocent son for nothing. You betrayed my husband and my father-in-law for 3 decades. You don't deserve anyone's forgiveness. I agree with Luke. He needs to divorce you. It was a mistake, Mia. You are an honest woman, and I know you really care about your family. Your new family is about to be broken, Mia. Please don't let it happen. My new family includes me, my son, Nigel, and Luke. You are not my family, Rita. A woman who treated me so badly and betrayed her own family so badly cannot be my family. I don't want you around me or my son again. The rest is for Nigel to decide. I don't want you anywhere near me too, Rita. Stay the hell away from me and my family. Dad is doing the right thing by divorcing you. You deserve that. And that is what you wanted, right? You wanted to prove that a son doesn't belong to his father. You wanted the father to divorce his wife. That's what's happening now, Rita. Unfortunately for you, it's happening to your family. Rita looked like she had been doused in ice water. Nigel was a warm and loving person. No one, not even me, ever saw this side of him. He was super mad, but also extremely cold. He didn't shout or yell at Rita like the others. He remained calm and talked in the coldest voice I have ever heard. At that point, everyone knew he meant what he was saying. He would literally never contact Rita again. Rita sank to the floor while not making any eye contact. All the family members were berating her and calling her horrible names. I didn't feel bad for her. Instead, it made me super happy. Luke also informed her that she needed to be out of his house soon. It was Luke's house since he inherited it from his father before his marriage. Also, we live in an at-fault state, so it would be likely that Luke would sue Rita for paternity fraud and escape from giving her alimony. Rita was now seriously in a big mess. Days passed and Luke stuck to his word. He actually went straight to a divorce lawyer the next day. He also formally started an eviction process against Rita. She threw a big tantrum complete with crying, begging, and even yelling. Luke wasn't going to go soft on her anymore. He wanted her out of his life as soon as possible. Rita also blew up my and Nigel's phones with texts and calls. It was mostly her begging and making ridiculous excuses for what she did. We read only a few and blocked her after that. Rita then showed up at our house to cry to us. She said, "Luke is kicking me out, guys. I have nowhere to go. I only have very little money that I need to get a divorce lawyer. I need a place to stay." "You can go anywhere you want, Rita. We won't be the ones housing you. Plus, we already told you that we want nothing to do with you." "I am your mom, Nigel. Why are you calling me by my name? I am your mother." Now, this pissed me off a lot. Look, I was glad that Rita was getting her just dessert and I won against her, but this entire paternity fiasco was very hard on both Nigel and Luke. While Luke was dealing with it his way, Nigel was a mess. It hurt to see my poor husband cry and lose himself in sadness. I was having a hard time consoling and comforting him while dealing with a newborn. So when Rita wanted to act like it was all no big deal, I was pissed. I said, "I believe you have already lost that privilege, Rita. From now on, you are just a stranger to us. And Nigel is right. We won't be the ones housing you." "Mia, please don't do this to me. My grandson needs his grandma in his life." "Don't you dare call my son your grandson. Your own son refused to call you mom. And you can't be a grandma to the child you never wanted in your life. Don't try and use my innocent child to guilt us. It won't work." "We have had enough of your bullshit, Rita. It's time for you to leave. Don't bother showing up again because I will call the cops on you. Trust me when I say you don't want more legal trouble after this." Rita did some more crying and pleading before Nigel shut the door in her face. It was satisfying to see Rita suffering, since she messed up so many lives because of her poor choices. We went back inside and waited for Rita to leave. She did leave when she realized that we wouldn't budge. After that, Rita kind of stayed away until it was time for her to leave Luke's house. She showed up with her stuff again to try and beg us or guilt us into letting her in. Nothing worked, and she left when we threatened to call the cops again. I had heard that she was staying with a friend who got her a job in her office as a warehouse worker. Now, the divorce battle was kind of ugly since Rita tried her best to get things in her favor. But like I said, we live in an at-fault state, so her stupid excuses didn't do her any good. They got divorced in 6 months and parted ways soon. She did keep harassing Luke to get her old life back, but it didn't work. She is now miserable, working in a warehouse and earning only the bare minimum. She has been cut off from the entire family, and no one has taken her side. She doesn't even get invites to attend parties and family gatherings anymore. Nigel and Luke are doing much better after joining therapy. It's good to see them still hold that strong bond despite the DNA report. We still have weekly family dinners and Luke comes over frequently to spend time with his grandson. Overall, we have managed to swing back to our normal lives while Rita is rotting in some warehouse, lonely and miserable. Hello everyone, my name's Ellie. I must give you a trigger warning because my story does have some abuse. I won't go into a hell of a lot of detail, but I will mention some instances to show you what my monster mother-in-law put me through. I still regret the day I married my now ex-husband Jake. I thought he was a good man. I thought that he came from a family that was respected. His mother, Chrissy, worked at a charitable foundation doing good for people. His father, Xavier, was a staunch businessman who took care of his family and made sure they were left wanting for nothing. Overall, they were a great family and anyone would be happy to be a member of their family. Initially, I was happy to be a part of their family too. It was after my marriage to Jake that everything changed. My mother-in-law, Chrissy, became abusive towards me. You see, Chrissy slowly started to do stuff to hurt me and emotionally control me. It started off with her stealing my glasses, phone and purse and hiding it so that I couldn't find it. Then she would laugh while I anxiously tried to find them out. Then she would intensively ask me to carry extremely hot pots that would burn me. One time she added shrimp juice to her chicken casserole so that I would develop an allergic reaction and miss my party. She made me cook for hours and then dumped everything on the floor. She continued to do stuff like this and then claimed that it was all accidental or she wasn't responsible for it. Hell, she even intentionally slipped me when I was at a family dinner. Why? So that I would embarrass myself and people would laugh at me. After months of receiving this treatment, I confronted Chrissy and asked my husband for help. I said, "You need to tell me what the hell your problem is, Chrissy. I'm tired of your behavior. I know you have been intentionally trying to hurt and embarrass me." "What the hell are you talking about, Ellie? How could you casually accuse me of something like that? God, are you jealous of me or something?" "Why the hell would I be jealous of someone like you, Chrissy? You are a freaking psycho. You literally don't have any reason to do what you are doing. You just enjoy hurting me." "God, Ellie, you need to stop being so dramatic. Don't cause an unnecessary scene. My mother is an esteemed lady who works at a charitable foundation. She is the last person to hurt you." I was alarmed by my husband's nonchalant reaction to me being abused. Sure, Chrissy did hide her actions and pretended to be innocent, but Jake knew about the food tampering and intentionally displacing my stuff. I was surprised that he was blaming me for accusing his mother. I was horrified to hear what he said. I said, "Jake, you need to do something about your mom. What she has been doing to me is borderline abusive. You saw how she intentionally makes food with stuff I'm allergic to. She knows I will suffer if I eat that. She doesn't even inform me about it." "You are being ridiculous, Ellie. Mom would never do something like that. It's all in your head. Mom has been telling me that you are losing your mind by being jealous of her. I can see what's happening." "What the hell, Jake? You know your mother has been tampering with my food and adding allergens to it. You know much more than that as well. Still, you want to take her side?" It confused me as to why Jake was being such a doormat and completely disregarded my words about his mother. He was never like that. He loved me and cared about me, but now it felt like he didn't care about me at all. I felt like I was struck with a thunderbolt. I looked at him in shock and was trying to understand why he was behaving in such a way. That was when his mom said, "Jake, your wife is crossing all limits. If she continues this behavior, we may have to kick her out. I always knew she was unworthy of our family, and now she is proving it. If you want to support your wife, you can leave as well. That will help us decide better what to do with your inheritance." "Mom, I know Ellie is being crazy right now. I don't support her at all. I swear she will behave herself. I will make sure of it. If she doesn't, you can kick her out. I won't mind." "I always knew you were the reasonable one, Jake. Thank God you can see past this crazy woman. I can't believe what a horrible woman she is, blaming me for her clumsiness and accusing me of being abusive." "Leave her be, Mom. Don't worry. I'm on your side. She'll come to her senses once I talk to her properly." I then knew why Jake was going against me despite everything. You see, me and Jake were living with his parents because that's what they wanted. Jake worked in Xavier's company and was completely dependent on his dad for his income. He did give some assets as land and office complexes, but he didn't own a house. He wanted his father's assets and didn't want to piss off his mom for the same reason. Yes, My husband was a greedy and selfish prick. Xavier often stayed away for business, so he had no idea what was going on in his house. Hell, even I didn't know that my own husband would refuse to protect me. When we were alone, he said, "What the hell is wrong with you, Ellie? Are you trying to get us kicked out or something?" Seriously, Jake? That's what you have to say after I told you about your mom's abuse? What kind of a husband are you? The kind that knows how to secure his future. You are insane, Ellie. You can't just expect me to accuse my mom of such things. Plus, you pulled me into your problems. If she gets mad at me, do you think she will let Dad give me all of my inheritance? Is your inheritance more important than your wife, Jake? We don't need anything. Let's leave and buy our own house. We can afford it. It will be smaller than this place, but it will be ours. No one can abuse me there. Oh, please, Ellie. We cannot even dream of ever buying a house like this. I'm not going anywhere. You will put up with my mom and stop complaining. If you don't, I'm sure my mom will kick you out. Don't come crying to me then, because I won't help you. And that was the point when I knew that my marriage was over. Jake betrayed me in the worst way possible. He wasn't the man I thought he was. I felt helpless and didn't know what to do. Chrissy seemed to ramp up her abusive tactics after getting confirmation that Jake wouldn't protest. I felt like I was lost. I wanted to run away and just leave everything behind. But I didn't do that. I wasn't going to let Chrissy get away with her abuse. I came up with a plan. I was going to expose her. I was going to make sure people knew exactly what an evil woman Chrissy is. My plan was simple. I accessed the security cameras around the house and pulled all the recordings secretly. I found plenty of evidence of Chrissy's abuse against me. I made a compiled video of it and kept it aside for a very special day. Chrissy's birthday was coming up and we had a few guests invited for a small celebration. Xavier would be present as well. That would be my D-Day. The countdown has begun. I was out to destroy Chrissy. On the day of Chrissy's birthday, she was her usual jolly self. She acted like the sophisticated, caring woman that she is known to be. Surprisingly, she was even behaving well with me, probably because there were people around. I didn't say anything, but just went along with it. After the birthday cake was cut, I stood up and made an announcement. I said, "Thank you everyone for coming to celebrate my dear mother-in-law, Chrissy. I'm sure you already know what a sweet and caring woman our birthday girl is. Now, I won't go into a lot of detail about her great deeds since many of you already know them. But since today is Chrissy's birthday, I thought I should show you exactly how much of a good person my dear mother-in-law is. As you can see, I have set up a screen to display the little video I made about my great mother-in-law. Enough with words now. I'll let you all see this dedicated video and make your wishes for our dear birthday girl." I play the video and let it do its job. I actually came prepared even if the worst were to happen. Some of my friends were one call away waiting for me to call them if something went wrong. After suffering for years at the hands of my monster mother-in-law, I was done being a doormat. I was standing up against her and exposing her two-faced self to everyone. I didn't care anymore. Not for my mother-in-law. Not for my husband. I was freaking done. The people saw the video I had painstakingly compiled over the last few months. They were horrified and dumbstruck. Chrissy and Jake stood in a corner, overcome by shock. Xavier reflected on their reaction. I didn't blame the man. He was away for days and didn't have an inkling of what was going on. When the video stopped playing, it was actually my father-in-law who spoke first. He said, "What the hell did I just watch, Chrissy?" "Xavier, it's not what it looks like. I'm not like that. These are fabricated videos taken out of context, Xavier." Oh, really, Chrissy? They don't look fabricated to me. You want to tell me that my daughter-in-law went to the extent of fabricating videos? For what? To humiliate you? Yes, that's right, Xavier. Ellie is doing this out of malice. I don't know how she managed to doctor those videos. I would never do something like this. Chrissy's nonchalant lies were getting to me. She wanted to tell everyone that her 1 year of abuse was all lies made by me. I didn't know how she thought people would still believe her after I made a full video of her antics. I calmly said, "So now you want to blame me for ruining your image, Chrissy? Let's do one thing then. Let's call the cops and let them decide if the videos are fabricated." What nonsense, Ellie! The cops won't be bothered to listen to a lying witch like you. Are you sure about that, Chrissy? You were saying that you don't realize that the stuff you were doing is downright illegal? Let's call the cops and find out. Chrissy looked more panicked at what I said. She never imagined that I would put her in this position. I had not only exposed her to her family, but also threatened to call the cops. She had never in her dreams imagined this happening. Her family was also pretty pissed off by what they saw. By a stroke of luck, I found out that some of Chrissy's friends were also present at the party. Friends who belonged to the charitable foundation where Chrissy worked. They were already giving her the stink eye while typing something on their phone. I assumed they were informing their work superiors about what they saw at the party. But Chrissy didn't notice that. She was busy trying to convince Xavier that she was being framed. She told him, "Xavier, do you hear her? She's threatening to call the cops on me. Ellie is threatening to get me in trouble. I'm telling you, she's delusional. Jake will agree with me." Right, Jake. Care to tell me what the hell you were doing when your own wife was being abused under my roof? Dad, it's not as bad as it looks, Dad. Ellie is making a big deal out of nothing. Mom is a caring mother-in-law. Seriously, Jake? You think this is how a caring mother-in-law behaves? Are you out of your mind? You were still defending your mom after I showed you proof that I wasn't lying. Wait a minute. Ellie? You told Jake about the abuse and he didn't do anything? I was glad Xavier caught that part, as did everyone else. They hadn't expected my husband to know the whole deal and not protect his wife. His damn wife, who he married out of love. No, his father's fortune and staying in a grand mansion mattered more to him than his own wife. He didn't want to upset his mom and risk his inheritance, but he didn't remember that his father didn't share his messed up ideas. Xavier was a man of morals and ethics, which also meant that he wasn't taking my abuse lightly. As I predicted, Xavier would be the one to help me get revenge against Chrissy. He was furious when I said, "I told Jake about the abuse, Xavier. He refused to believe me. He always told me that I was overreacting and accusing Chrissy of nothing. He told me that he wouldn't risk staying at this house by upsetting Chrissy." And why didn't you come to me sooner, Ellie? I needed to collect proof and show everyone what a monster Chrissy is. From Jake's reaction, it became clear to me that I needed proof to show that I was being abused. Otherwise, no one would believe me or help me. We all believe you, Ellie. I'm so sorry this happened to you. I'm sorry I failed to raise my son right. Ellie, as for Chrissy, I don't even know what to say. You can call the cops on her. I won't interfere. What, Xavier? How could you say that to her? You will let her call the cops on your own wife? My life will be ruined, Xavier. Our reputation will be ruined. Dad, you are not thinking straight. We don't need to call the cops. We're your family. Ellie is no one. You can't support this. Shut your mouths, you two. After what you have done, you have no right to tell me how I should and shouldn't act. And don't call me family. Abusers and enablers can never be my family. As for my reputation, there won't be a spot on it. I will divorce Chrissy and disinherit Jake as soon as possible. I will have no ties with such monsters like you two." Chrissy and Jake were shocked to hear that. They didn't expect Xavier to decide that. Like always, they thought that they could spin the story to make me look like the bad guy, but no one believed them now. It was apparent from the cheer that the crowd made when Xavier made that declaration. Chrissy's friends had already left after giving me their support and promised that they would make Chrissy pay for her actions in their own way. They didn't even talk to Chrissy, and she was busy managing her very angry husband anyway. Chrissy and Jake cried to Xavier. They said, "Xavier, you are not thinking straight. You can't just abandon us on Ellie's word." "Her words are backed by proof, Chrissy. She didn't just tell me the truth, she showed it to me. Unlike my spineless son here, I actually do intend to do what's right by Ellie." "Dad, I'm sorry. I know I should have listened to Ellie. Believe me, Dad, I had no idea that Mom was really—" "That is bullshit, Jake. I showed you proof once, but still, you didn't do anything. You didn't want to jeopardize your inheritance. I don't even know what I ever saw in you. It's freaking funny that your father cares about me more than you. Xavier, if you hadn't supported me today, I don't know what I would have done." "I support you wholeheartedly, Ellie. My imbecile son doesn't deserve you, and he doesn't deserve the inheritance that he wants so badly. It's only fitting that I disinherit him now." "Dad, no, you can't do this to me. Dad, I'm your son. Dad." "Don't call me Dad, Jake. I don't want to hear that from you. I'm done being an ATM to two useless people who are nothing but a waste of space on this earth. Jake, since you have turned as greedy and fake as your mother, you can go with her after our divorce. You won't have a home here anymore." "You're not serious about this, Xavier? You are saying this just to hurt me. You won't divorce me, I know that. We've been together for almost 3 decades. You won't do this to me." "Yes, we have been together for almost 3 decades, but I had no idea that my own wife could be such a vile and monstrous person. After what I witnessed today, I don't want to be anywhere near you, let alone stay married to you." Chrissy froze like she was thunderstruck. Jake was already crying and repeatedly apologizing to Xavier. Still, I had no apology. It was funny just how today's event showed everyone where Chrissy and Jake's priorities lie. They only cared about money and reputation. They didn't care that they abused a person and let it continue for a year. I was disgusted with the useless man I called my husband. He was more upset at the news of being disinherited than hearing that his own wife was being abused. It was pathetic. Chrissy now restarted her crying and begging for forgiveness. Not to me, of course. She said to Xavier, "Xavier, look, I know I made a mistake, but I swear it will never happen again. Don't take such a huge step without thinking, Xavier. I'm your wife. Can't you forgive me for once?" "Mom is right, Dad. We know we messed up, but we will make it up to you. We are ashamed of ourselves. This will be a wake-up call for me too. Please don't abandon us for one mistake. Please forgive me this time." "You two have some nerve asking for forgiveness. You didn't even apologize to the main victim here, who is Ellie. You are apologizing to me because I have the power to make you bankrupt and homeless. Not once have you ever looked at Ellie with remorse or apologies to her for your horrible actions." So, Xavier had noticed what I had noticed. He saw how they disregarded me and were more concerned with Xavier. He knew that they didn't want to end up on the streets after having a life like that. As soon as Xavier pointed out the irony, Chrissy and Jake started to pester me with their apologies. It was so fake and desperate that it made everyone even angrier. I was scrambling away from them as if their touch would pollute me. I wanted those monsters nowhere near me anymore. I said, "Don't bother with your fake apologies anymore. I know you are sorry only because you got caught and are now facing consequences. I am not that doormat who came into this family a year ago. I know your fake faces. Ellie, come on, don't do this to us. We made a mistake. I should have protected you. I'm so sorry I didn't. We love each other. We can look past this. Let's try to forgive each other. We are family, Ellie. Yes, we are family, Ellie dear. I'm so sorry I was such a bad mother-in-law. I will get help and get better. I promise I will never do this to you again. If you just forgive us, we can go back to being the perfect family we were. I laughed, guys. I laughed when Chrissy and Jake said their piece. It was hilarious that they called it the perfect family. I don't know which perfect family abuses their own daughter-in-law. I don't know which perfect husband lets his own mother torture his wife. Their fake apologies were just like jokes to me at this point. I did feel a little powerful having them at my feet begging for forgiveness, knowing that my decision would affect and change their life for the worse. I gave them a small smile and said, "You must be delusional if you think I consider you family. You are nothing but leeches. You came to apologize because you have your future at stake. Well, guess what? I don't forgive you. You are not my family. Before you even pull the husband's card, Jake, let me be clear. I will be divorcing you. That's final." No, Ellie, listen to me. I did what I did to protect us. I wanted to protect our future. I love you. You let your mom torture me because you wanted to secure our future. I told you multiple times that we don't need your parents' money. I wanted to go get our own place to get away from your evil mother. But no, greed made you stay here and overlook everything your mom did. Well, it amounted to nothing for him. I will be disinheriting him whether he likes it or not. Even if you take him back, Ellie, I won't be having him around anymore. He can go freak off to where his mom goes. I am firm in my decision too, Xavier. Jake, we are done. You are getting a divorce and I will be going after half of your assets. You will pay for enabling your mother. Jake and Chrissy couldn't say anything more. They kept crying and saying sorry over and over again. You can imagine my satisfaction with this situation. I truly got my vengeance and protected myself. I called my friends who gathered my things and drove me to their home. Jake tried to stop me, but with one stern word from Xavier, he shut up real quick. I didn't even look at Chrissy because I wanted to forget her nasty face as soon as possible. I didn't go to the cops with the video. With Xavier divorcing Chrissy and Jake getting disinherited, I didn't need to spend money on lawyers to get them punished. They were in deep shit anyway. Xavier kicked them both out of the house. They came begging to my friend's place to try and stay with me. Xavier had an ironclad prenup, which meant Chrissy wasn't getting a penny out of him. As I said, her friends from the charitable foundation exposed her face to everyone at work and got her fired. As for Jake, his job at his dad's company was gone, and so were his dreams of getting a big inheritance. Now, their only refuge was me, who had both a job and money. Chrissy was so freaking shameless that she thought I would help her because, in her words, I was family. Well, I promptly kicked them out and threatened them with a restraining order if they ever contacted me again. As the months passed, I managed to settle into my own place. I was actually renting and waiting for my divorce to be finalized. Jake had a few assets that were obviously getting split between us. He didn't have a prenup in place because he thought I wouldn't be strong enough to leave him. Now I shudder to think that he could have easily turned abusive like his mom if I had stayed longer. Anyway, I did purchase a small flat after the divorce got finalized. Jake gave in easily because I threatened to go to the cops with the abuse videos. Xavier also did the same and got a smooth divorce. Jake ended up working 2 jobs to support his mom, who refused to work. He once reached out to me to complain about how his mom was making him miserable and he wanted to come back to me. I laughed in his face and told him to enjoy his new life before hanging up. It was a long revenge for me that kept going on even after I stopped doing anything. Currently, I'm living a good life, and so is Xavier. But Jake and Chrissy are suffering and getting a good dose of karma for their actions. Hello, beautiful people. My name is Lena, and I'm here to tell you a brilliant story. This is about how I got my sweet revenge against my horrible mother-in-law, Pam. Let me start with the basics. My husband Keith and I met through mutual friends and got married after dating for 3 years. I won't bore you by going into details about what a great man my husband is. Well, he is the best. When I met his father, Rick, I knew how Keith turned out to be such a great man. The father-son duo were truly the best, but I can't say the same for his mother. Pam was a bitter and entitled lady who thought that the world revolved around her. She had high expectations from life and wanted to live like a queen. Unfortunately for her, she didn't have the proper brain or skills to make that happen. She worked a small job, and so did Rick. They were not rich by any means and lived a modest life. While Rick was happy with what they had, Pam was not. She always had expensive tastes and the habit of looking down on people. She even criticized her husband for not earning enough to keep her in luxury. She wanted the best, but didn't want to put in the effort to bring in the money. Hell, she quit her job after Keith got a good job and expected the father-son duo to shoulder all her expenses while she spent her days drowning in luxury. Did she consult her husband or son? Of course she didn't. She was the entitled type who just expected everyone to bend to her will. Here is where I come in. Keith meets me and moves into my place. We both work, but start saving and planning our expenses with great care. Keith stops spending money on his mother whenever she wants. That made Pam mad at me. She assumed that I was taking her money. She once told me, "You think you can take my son's money and live a good life? That will never happen. I won't allow you to bankrupt my son. His money is only for him and his family. And you are not his family." I don't need his money, Pam. I already work a good job. I may not be rich, but I am not wanting for money either. Oh, please. I know women like you. You are a useless girl working in a low-level job. Soon you will be kicked out and will make my naive son your cash cow. I won't let that happen. Well, she couldn't stop me after all. I married her son and made things permanent. She never accepted me, of course. She always made fun of me and my humble lifestyle. She compared us both, from the clothes we wore to the car we drove. Now, the subject of the car is very important. You see, 3 years back, Pam nagged Keith to get her a new car, and he did. It was a decent Honda, but much better than the second-hand beat-up car I drove. Pam always made it a point to tell me what a peasant I was while she was a sophisticated woman. Keith shut her down after she never stopped. I kept my mouth shut because I really liked Rick and I didn't want to come between Keith and his mom. The system worked for us until one fateful night when we were having a family dinner. Pam made a joke about my car again. She said, "You know that the other day my friend saw Lena's car and thought it was going to the compound?" She was shocked to even hear that the thing was still on the road. I mean, I would never be caught with an old thing like that. Lena must be really desperate if she continues to use it. You were being super rude to Lena, Pam. You need to stop. We talked about this. Don't worry, Dad. The jokes end today. Next time your friend sees my wife's car, she will be surprised. Mom, Lena has booked a brand new car. She will now have the best car in the family. What? Lena's buying a brand new car? What do you mean it will be the best car in the family? Yes, Lena is getting a new car. You see, Keith went on and on about the new car I was getting. Pam's eyes shot into her head when she heard that I paid $30,000 for it. While Rick and Keith were genuinely happy, she looked upset and displeased. Now, let me tell you something. There is this car that I have always wanted in my life. That was part of the reason why I never upgraded my old car even when it was giving me trouble. It was second-hand and was barely functional. I didn't upgrade immediately because I was saving money to get my dream car. By the time my old car died, I had enough and more to get it replaced with my dream car. I had been saving for it for God knows how long. Keith was super supportive of me and was also happy that I was able to achieve my dream. So when he told Pam about my latest purchase, he only had happy thoughts in mind. But I was weary of letting Pam know about it. You will see why. This is what she said next. What? You are getting a new car? A car that costs $30,000? Are you insane? Do you think my son's money grows on trees? Mom, relax. Lena's buying the car with her own money. It is her dream car. She worked hard to save for it, and now she can finally have it. That is great, Lena. I'm so proud of you. You deserve it since you worked so hard for it. Now you will have the best car in our family. No, 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 no. This can't be happening. This useless woman can't have a better car than me. Lena, you better go cancel the purchase. You'll be disrespecting your in-laws by making such extravagant purchases. Everyone was surprised at what Pam said. I wasn't sure if I had heard her right. Was she really asking me to give up my car because she couldn't afford one as well? Yes, she was. Because she was just that entitled. Rick and Keith were both surprised and uncomfortable. I said, no, I don't think I will be doing that. Driving a better car doesn't mean I am disrespecting anyone. It's the money I am spending. We don't mind, Lena. Pam, what the hell are you saying? She's not being disrespectful to us by buying better things. Well, it is disrespectful to me, Lena. I don't care what you think. You will go and cancel the purchase immediately. If you are smart, you will double the cash and get a new car for yourself and for me. Oh, hell no, Pam. If you want a new car as well, you can go back to work. You can get it the way I did. I don't see why I should be getting you a new car for nothing. Your car is in perfectly good shape. I will not drive an old car when someone useless like you will be driving a $30,000 car. You have two options, Lena. You either buy a cheaper car or buy two expensive ones. I take one while you take the other. You are delusional, Pam. That's not how things work. If you want something, you should work for it. This conversation is getting ridiculous. I think we will go home. Keith agreed with me, and we both left the house. But Pam never stopped bothering us. She kept telling me to cancel the purchase or there would be consequences. Now, that got my alarm bells ringing in an instant. I showed the text to Keith, but he told me to ignore them. He thought that his mom was just being dramatic and nothing else. His way of dealing with her was to just ignore her or give in to her demands. He was doing just that. But this time, I didn't think it was wise, so I took matters into my own hands and became extra careful. Thank God I did. Pam messed up big time just 2 weeks after my car got delivered. I was on leave and at home minding my own business. Suddenly, there is a knock at my door. I open the door to find a cheerful Pam walking into my living room. I was confused and cautious as to why she came to see me and why she was in such a good mood. After making some small talk, she asked for some coffee. I went to the kitchen to make it, and after a few minutes, I heard the front door close. I rushed back to see what was going on just in time to see Pam driving away in my new car. Well, guess what, guys? She stole my freaking car. It took a few minutes for my brain to comprehend everything. I was in shock. I didn't know what to do. I called Keith and asked him to come home as soon as possible. He told me that he would be on his way. I was freaking out, wondering what the hell was going on. My panic grew tenfold when Pam returned with my car, but it was in extremely bad condition. Then it hit me. Pam stole my car and wrecked it on purpose. She smugly got out of the car and handed me the keys. I was shaking with rage and said, "What the hell did you do, Pam? What was that? You wrecked my car. Why would you do that? You don't have something that I cannot. You don't deserve to drive a brand new car while I have to make do with a 5-year-old beat-up car. I deserve what you have, and probably even more than that." So you decided that instead of working hard for it like I did, you would just destroy what I have? You must be truly freaking delusional, Pam. Well, it doesn't matter anymore, does it? There is no need for me to buy a new car. Yours is already destroyed. Now you will have to drive an old beat-up car like the rest of us. That's what suits you best. I laughed at Pam when she said that. It was freaking hilarious. She really thought that now I would go back to driving my old car that wasn't even in driving condition anymore. How funny. She literally had no idea what I was about to do with the car she had just destroyed. Pam looked at me like I had lost my mind. I mean, I was laughing like a maniac after she literally wrecked my $20,000 car. Anyone in my situation would be crying like hell and screaming in agony. Well, not me, because I am smarter than that. I calmed down and went to my car. After taking some pictures of the car, I reached inside and removed something from the rearview mirror. Pam was confused because she saw what I was holding. She looked panicked and said, What the hell is that? What are you holding?" "Oh, you poor thing, Pam. Did you really think my world would end if you wrecked my car? Sorry to burst your bubble, but that's not happening. You want to know what I just pulled out? Well, it's a dash cam, Pam." No, that's impossible. That's fake. That can't be real. I checked for a dash cam. It wasn't there before. You really are very far behind on technology, Pam. This one goes behind the rear view mirror. It has the videos stored in a memory card. With this, I will have plenty of proof to land you in jail, and my insurance will cover it all. Pam looked like she landed in hell. She was literally panicking and looked ready to faint. For some odd reason, she didn't think that she would get caught. Now that I have threatened to call the cops, she was freaking out. Our little car stealer and crasher was now in grave danger of being arrested. She still somehow was in denial and kept saying that the device was fake. She said, "You were trying to scare me, Lena. It won't work. You just got the car." So what, Pam? Do you think I'm a dumbass like you? I pre-ordered the dash cam even before I picked up my car. This car is expensive shit. There was no freaking chance I was leaving it without surveillance. Plus, I already suspected you would try to do something stupid. I was right. Now that you have messed up my car, I guess we will have to call the cops now. No, you can't do that. You can't call the cops. Pam was visibly panicking and didn't know what to do. I was already on the phone with the cops, who said that they would be on their way. Pam stood frozen in her spot, looking like a deer in headlights. That's when Keith came home from work. He took one look at my wrecked new car and said, "What the hell, Lena? What happened to the car? What is going on? Are you hurt?" I'm fine, Keith. As you can see, my car is a wreck now, thanks to your mom. If you want to know how this happened, I'm sure my dear mother-in-law will be willing to give you the details. What are you talking about? Mom, did you do this to Lena's car? Now, Pam was trying to be smart here. She thought that she could use her son to get out of trouble, and she thought that she could change the story and paint me as the villain while portraying herself as the victim. She started to cry very loudly and clung to Keith's arm. Keith looked confused and didn't know what to do or say. Pam used this opportunity to say, Keith, your wife has wrecked her car and is now pinning the blame on me. She knows that I can't afford a car like that, so she's intentionally blaming me. She's telling everyone that I was jealous of her car, so I wrecked it. I literally only told Keith. And I never said those words. I just told him the truth, that you have wrecked my car, Pam. Shut up, Lena. I have done no such thing. How dare you accuse me of such a horrible thing? Keith, Lena is threatening to call the cops on me, son. I didn't do anything wrong. She's trying to pass off her reckless driving on me. Are you saying that you didn't wreck my car, Pam? I didn't do it. You cannot prove that I was the one who wrecked your car. Here's where things get a little more interesting, Pam. You see, this beautiful dash cam here, it has both front and back-facing cameras. Know what that means? It means that it also records who is driving the car. Pam didn't see this coming. She was sure that she could convince everyone that I was lying. As I said, she has been out of touch with the advancement of technology. She didn't even know that double-sided dash cams exist. Her expression confirmed my doubts. Pam now knew that she was trapped. I was wise in making sure my beloved car was well protected. My insurance would take care of repair costs. All I had to do was file a police report. This meant that Pam was in deep trouble with no escape in sight. She started to tremble as tears started to gather in her eyes again. Keith looked stunned at the entire situation and quickly pushed away from Pam just as the cops drove up to the house. He said, Mom, how could you do this? God, Lena was right. You planned this for a while. You have been planning this ever since I accidentally told you about the new car. Keith, son, it was a mistake. I was just a little jealous, that's it. You know, I can't afford a car like that. I got lost in jealousy and did something stupid. Please forgive me. Forgive you? Mom, you destroyed the car. You stole someone else's property and wrecked it on purpose. Then you tried to blame it all on my poor wife. You think that is something I will forgive? Pam kept crying and begging Keith for forgiveness. Meanwhile, I was busy telling the cops what happened and handing over all the evidence to them. I connected my phone to the dash cam to show them the proof. Once they confirmed what went wrong, they proceeded to arrest Pam. Pam immediately went into a panic and said, Keith, you can't let them arrest me. I'm your mother. I just made a small mistake. Don't let them send me to jail. Keith. You have no right to ask that from me. You committed a crime and showed no real remorse for it. You didn't even apologize to Lena. You are on your own, Mom. There is no way I'm helping you. Lena, we can solve this between ourselves. There's no reason to get the cops involved. We are family, right? You wouldn't want your mother-in-law arrested, right? Actually, no, Lena. You made it clear that I am not family. And it would give me great pleasure to see you getting arrested for committing a crime. Officers, take her away. I'm firm in my decision. I will sue her for stealing my car and damaging it. Pam cried out and screamed when I said that. She sought Keith's help, but he moved away as well. The cops went to her and got her arrested. She was put in the police car and driven off to the station. Keith and I went inside the house and I called my insurance company to inform them about the situation. Once I was done, Keith sat me down to apologize. He said, "Lena, I'm so sorry. I could have stopped this from happening. My mom has always been vile to you, but I didn't do anything to stop her." "It's okay, Keith. You did stand up for me more than once. I don't blame you for trying to keep your mom in your life, but after today, I'm done with her." "Oh, trust me, Lena, I'm done with her as well. I don't want anything to do with her either. I have been giving in to her demands for a while now. I didn't see how selfish and spoiled she was getting. I guess this is a wake-up call for me as well. I hope Dad sees it too." Just on cue, Keith's phone rang. It was his dad calling to understand what the hell was going on. Keith answered the call and put him on loudspeaker. He said, "Hey, Dad, you were on loudspeaker. Lena's here as well. We assume this is about Mom." "Yes, it is, Keith. What's going on? Your mom called from the police station saying that she had been arrested. She told me that Lena wrecked her new car and blamed it on her. I don't understand. What is going on?" There it was. Lena trying to spin the story to get her way again. I guess she thought Rick would immediately take her side and wouldn't even cross-check her story. Well, Rick is a smart man who has known Pam for 30 years. He wasn't oblivious to his wife's ridiculous antics, so he sought confirmation before believing her outright. Keith, on the other hand, was super pissed off at what Pam tried to pull. He said, "Dad, Mom is lying. She stole Lena's car and wrecked it on purpose. She took the keys from her when she wasn't looking. The dash cams on the car caught everything." "What the hell, Keith? Why did your mother lie to me? This is insane." "I assume she wants you to bail her out, Rick. This is the same story she told Keith when the cops tried to arrest her. She thought that I didn't have proof of her driving my car. Well, I have a double camera dash cam, so her lies didn't work." "Oh God, I should have seen this coming. She had been watching your new car for a while, Lena. I thought she was just venting. I never even imagined she would go this far." Rick was in complete shock after hearing the details of what happened. He was furious with Pam and ashamed of what his wife had tried to pull. Keith and Rick had some private talk, after which they hung up. Keith later told me that Rick had no intention of bailing Pam out. He was both furious and disappointed. He also sent me an apology text telling me not to hate him for his wife's actions. It really broke my heart. I hoped he would do better for himself. He didn't deserve such a horrible wife like Pam. Well, guess what, guys? The universe listened to me. Rick met with Pam at the police station and refused to bail her out. He tried to get some remorse out of her and see if she was willing to change herself. But Pam wasn't done sabotaging herself. She actually screamed at him for being a useless husband who couldn't give her a good car or bail her out of prison. That was rich coming from someone who left her own job to mooch off her son and husband. Rick was so angry that he told Pam that he was done. He came home and called us. He told us that he would be filing for divorce. He was done being a verbal punching bag for his wife. A year has passed since that incident. Rick actually ended up divorcing Pam and moving in with us. The court didn't even give Pam alimony because she had willingly left her job without consulting Rick. They didn't have much, and whatever she got out of the divorce was spent on paying me back for the damages to my car. Yes, I went ahead with my case, or rather my insurance company did. I got a replacement car within a month and all was well with me. Pam was slapped with multiple charges and made to pay a lot of money. She went back to work 2 jobs because she literally didn't have money to pay my insurance and sustain herself. She did try to beg me and Keith for help, but we shut the door in her face. Since then, we have been in no contact with her. Last I heard, she was staying with a family member who didn't tolerate her nonsense. Pam is now poor and unhappy, but I guess that's what she gets for being a greedy and entitled woman.